So if you haven't heard, John Riccitiello is now out. And if you don't know who John Riccitiello is, he is the CEO, or once was the CEO of a Unity. And this is effective immediately. From what I understand, he stepped down, but I think he was probably pushed out. And if you remember before, when Unity came out, if you're interested in the game engines and all these other stuff, when Unity came out with this new pricing thing where they were retroactively going to be charging people per install, all this other crazy stuff that they were doing. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock, and that rock has to be under another boulder, and that boulder has to be, tossed into a dungeon, and that dungeon has to be tossed into another dungeon in another dimension for you not to understand what's been going on with Unity if you are a game developer. But if you're not a game developer, I understand. You don't know what's going on. So Unity is a game engine, one of the top game engines that's used for all kinds of things, and a lot of people use it. And the CEO decided that what he was going to do is start charging people per install for Unity. Now, there is a version of Unity that we use to create games where you don't have to really pay anything until you actually start making some decent money. And then there's those who actually are making decent money and they pay Unity a certain amount to use their engine, which is pretty fair. It's always been fair. And they've been competing with Unreal with that respect. But as soon as they did this whole thing where they were retroactively going to start charging people, and they sort of snuck some new verbiage in the previous contracts that people sold, which people agreed to, and they went and started changing those on the back end, which was kind of sneaky. And people didn't notice it because they were doing it in the middle of the night. So let's say if you had version 2019 and now it's 2023, they went back and changed that contract without you even knowing. So every time you use the engine, you're now under those new contracts. So it was pretty sneaky, a lot of stuff that was going on. And so at the time, what I was saying was that, okay, so Unity is a great engine, and basically you have to step away from it unless you're just using it to learn, unless you're using it to, I guess, to not really make any money. And basically what they were saying was that, hey, the majority of our users won't have to worry about this. And what I was saying was that basically what you're saying is the majority of your users, you don't ever plan on them making any money when they use Unity. And that was just too far for me, because if I'm going to teach someone something, I want to teach them with the idea that they can become something, that they can make something, that they can do big things, okay? I don't want to teach them so they can just do it on the weekends, unless they want to, that's up to them. But I want them to be able to use something that they can go as far as they can imagine with it. And with regards to Unity, it's a great engine. They can go as far as they want as long as they have the right team, in my opinion. But Unity themselves were saying, hey, the majority of our users aren't going to worry about this payment. So I was put off by that. I was put off by the fact that they retroactively started changing those things. And so I suggested that people, they look into it themselves, obviously, but, use Unity if you're not really going to do anything, but go to Unreal if you're going to do something big. Now, I also at the time was saying how the only way they could fix this is that the CEO steps down. That's the only way to fix any of this. If you have the same person steering the ship, okay? Imagine if the Titanic captain, after he crashed the Titanic, he survives, and then you're going to hire him for another voyage. Who's going to take that voyage? And you say, oh, no, this ship is a good ship. This one won't, this ship will not sink. Yeah, that's what you said about the Titanic. So every time Unity sinks, every time Unity comes after you, every time Unity does something crazy or strange, you're going to be freaked out because the captain is still there. But okay, so now this time the captain went down with the captain's stupid idea to go, floating or sailing through icebergs in a sleazy way. If game development is all about the money, I understand you want to make money. I understand that. But I'm going to let you know something. If you want to get into game development, a lot of the people who go into game development go into because they actually like games. That's a lot of them. They would do this for free if they could. So even when they're making money, they actually like making games. In order for you to make a game, with Unity or Unreal, it doesn't matter. In order for you to make a game, you have to love making games. Why? Because it's tough. making games. It's not easy, especially something that's fun. When you're first learning, it's always fun to do stuff, see things happen. But after that, you want to see it happen on a larger scale. You want to see it happen in other people's hands. You want to see other people use it. Almost like a chef. A chef wants to see other people eat the food. They want to experience it. They want to see if they like it or they dislike it so they can improve on their skills. They like seeing that. They like seeing other people enjoy the food, right? So tennis players, the same thing. Sports players, basketball players, they want other people to watch. They don't want to just play by themselves. But think about this for a second. There's people who play basketball for free. And in fact, the majority of the people who play basketball play for free because they love it. If they could get paid doing it, they would, but they love doing it. The majority of tennis players pay to play in many cases because they join tournaments. They do it because they love it. Now imagine if you play tennis or you play basketball, they say, okay, you know that ball you got, you know that tennis racket you got? Every time you took a swing in the past or every time you shot the ball in the past, you're going to owe us 25 cents. Yeah, wait a minute, I already bought the ball. That was not part of the agreement. Yeah, but we went back and we changed the agreement. That's basically what happened to people who were passionate about what they were doing, and they chose Unity to do that. They could have easily used Unreal. They chose Unity because Unity is a great platform to use. Unreal is amazing also. I'm not putting down Unreal. If I'm going to make a AAA game, definitely Unreal would be the first place I go. I tell you that much. Especially with all this stuff happening. Unity also can make AAA games. It's your preference at this point. But now that they got rid of this captain, now that they got rid of the Titanic captain, they can now move forward. This is why I didn't completely throw away Unity, completely, because I figured I was waiting for this to happen. I knew something had to happen because if not, no one was going to trust them. And a lot of people had to jump ship because they didn't really think that they would be able to get rid of him. I'm sure they had to pay a lot of money, but they would have lost a lot more money by keeping him on. So that's the news. Am I saying go back to Unity? I'm saying see who they put in, see who's next. This report basically states a lot of what's just this news that's coming out. It's on The Verge. This is reported on The Verge. Unity, the company behind the game development engine of the same name, has just announced that its president, CEO, and chairman, John Riccitiello, will retire. Chairman John Riccitiello will retire effective immediately. The board will initiate a comprehensive search process. So they haven't really thought about anybody yet. They really just needed to get rid of this guy, evidently, with the assistance of the leading executive search firm. Oh, a leading executive search firm. They're really pushing this thing to identify a permanent CEO. Hey, you know what? I got the permanent CEO for you. Go ahead and get Elon Musk, and he'll really take care of everything for you. No, they couldn't even afford him. Reads the press release, adding that James Whitehurst will step in as interim CEO, president, and board member. So it goes on to say that he's gonna, the previous CEO, he's gonna go ahead and advise Unity to ensure a smooth transition. He better do that because they're gonna be paying him still a lot of money to leave. Notably, Unity's new interim CEO is an outsider. Whitehurst is an advisor at Silver Lake, a private equity firm that owns about 9% of Unity. He also spent 12 years as CEO of Red Hat and IBM subsidiary. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Known for a specific flavor of Linux. While the press release makes no mention of it, this is happening amidst a giant game industry controversy. That's a mouthful right there. And there's a lot more going into that, the controversy. And by the way, it wasn't just that controversy. It goes way back many years. They've done other things similar to this where they've lost users because of it, and Unreal capitalized on it, and Unreal was able to get users from Unity over to Unreal every single time. This is not the only time they've done something like this. This is probably the last straw for a lot of people. And there it is. After Unity introduced a new pricing model and retroactively changed its terms of service, breaking trust with many game developers in the process. That was exactly what I was saying. Some threatened to never use Unity again, or even switch to a new platform in the middle of developing their next game, because of the fees Unity planned to charge every time their game their games were installed, regardless of whether those installs were legitimate, new purchases, or whether their games were developed under the different previous agreement with Unity. And that was the huge problem that they had right there. Unity they did not care whether you were being hacked, whether it was people just installing, uninstalling, installing, whether it was bots installing that was going to just raise your price. You might as well be running off of an Azure server or some sort of Amazon server and let them charge you up the yin yang if you're going to do something like this, because they don't know if the person's installed it on one computer, two computers, and in order for them to know that, they would have to put something in the system. They would have to put something in in Unity itself. And with this uproar that's happened, I don't think they're really interested in doing anything even remotely close to that right now. And I think if it was in there, they're probably going to take it out because people are going to be looking for something like that. And the article continues, in addition to fears they might get hit with a huge bill when the changes took effect, game developers pointed out malicious actors could band together to protest. You see, this is what I'm saying, to protest marginalized developers, those small developers who cannot sustain all those charges by repeatedly downloading and re-downloading their game. This is exactly what I was talking about. And they were none too happy to see that Unity had removed its terms of service from GitHub, preventing developers from easily tracking changes there. So this is another slimy sort of thing that they did, that Unity did. Unity has since changed its pricing scheme. Right. Of course they had to. They had to because people were just leaving in droves and people were just going nuts. It will now let developers pay them a flat 2.5% of the game's revenue if they prefer not to pay based on engagement. This is interesting. If they prefer not to pay based on engagement, which means they're keeping that option in there for the new Unity still. This is still going to be there for the new Unity. Yeah, they did say something like that. So this 2.5% revenue is one thing, and they're still going to keep, I think, this engagement, this sort of install thing in there, which means they probably have that system still inside of Unity, and it's probably going to be for the newer Unity. So I would say if you're going to still use Unity, make sure you read the terms of agreement very closely. The article continues and says, many were quick to point the finger at Riccitiello personally for the disastrous pricing changes, given his history of making controversial statements and decisions around monetization in the past. And they give you some context here. Yeah, I mean, this can go on. I'm not going to read the whole article, but you get the idea that there's a history behind this. And I gave my little speech in the beginning, not having read this article, but they did hit on everything in this article. This is a pretty good article to read if you want to know more about it, but this is the way to do it. Riccitiello thought that he can go ahead and change I would say, the spirit around Unity and make this all about money. And again, yes, they have to make money, but what makes Unity are the people who create games for Unity. Unity is not going to make all their games, and they barely make a few games. I don't even think Unity makes any games. I know they do. They probably do. But my point is, they are not the ones who are driving the money to Unity. It is the users and the developers and the students and the professors and all those people who use it. And all those people who use it because there's a great engine, and they feel that the people that they're teaching to use it and the games that they're making with it is going to be something that's long lasting, something that's solid, something that is not shakeable, And this completely blew up the world of the developers and the users of Unity. And so that's why this had to happen. You had to get rid of the captain of the ship because the captain of the ship kept running into huge, massive, icebergs, looking for him. Definitely running into him head on, saying, hey, see that iceberg right there? Let me run into that and see what happens. He couldn't really understand his user base. That's what it seems like to me. And now when you have somebody, the interim the interim CEO is there from Red Hat and IBM, they, I believe, have a better connection to the user base, not because of where they come from, because of what just happened to this fella. All right. So that's the news. If anything else comes out, I'll let you guys know. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And do you guys think that this was the best route to take? I believe it is. And if with this being the case, are you willing? Here's my question to you all. Are you willing to go back to Unity if you left? Seeing as how the captain is gone. And what do you think about this? Do you think it's better for the future of Unity? Is this a change that you were looking for? Is this the extreme measures that you're looking for to say, hey, look, they're serious about changing, they're serious about going back, and I'm all in, even with the fact that they're keeping some sort of pricing structure there for engagement, is what they say, in the newer version of Unity, not the older version. So if you want to use the newer version, you might have to go with that engagement or 2.5%, fee. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.